Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt is going to be teaching you how to play Harvest Moon. So this song was actually voted on and requested by you guys. So if you have a song that you'd like to request, please write it on this forum post. I'll put the link in the description box below. But every couple months or so, we'll go through that list and we'll pick 4 songs and let you guys vote on the one that you want us to arrange and teach. So as far as this song is concerned, I got a chance to play through it this afternoon. And I gotta say, number 1, it's a lot of fun. But number 2, it's really not that hard. I'd say it falls into the seasoned beginner level. And actually, the only thing that seems to be tricky about it is that some of the melody is syncopated. So a few of the bars are going to have rhythms that fall off the beat. So that's all syncopation means. It means that you're not playing on the downbeat, but instead you're playing on the upbeat. So I'll put up an example measure right here. You can see the hits in red, and the hits all fall on the ends. So when you get to the measures in this tune that have syncopation, you probably want to approach it by clapping the rhythm first before trying it on the ukulele. So for this example measure, I would count 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. So practice counting and clapping and doing the hits just that way before you put it onto the instrument, and you're going to find that it makes it a lot easier to do instead of just starting right on the ukulele. Now, if you're new to counting rhythms, I'll put an introductory lesson that we have in the description box below to understanding rhythmic notation. But the best way to really understand how rhythm and timing connect is to learn to read. So check out our reading course, because that really connects all the dots and makes rhythm so much easier to comprehend. Okay, so back to this tune. Now in this video, you guys are going to learn the entire song, but if you want to get the tabs to print off and keep as a PDF format, then click this link right here, or go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Harvest Moon. Also on that page will be the on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset for learning a song like this that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this tune, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
Today we're going to work on a solo arrangement of Harvest Moon by Neil Young. To start here, we're going to play the really iconic riff, and we're going to be using some cool techniques to do it. So starting here with melody A, we're going to play this little intro part. And to do this, we're going to set up a C chord, our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. Now this riff is played many times throughout the arrangement, so it's really important to get very comfortable with it before you move on to the other sections. We're going to start by plucking with our index finger on our C string. You'll notice I'm going to be using what's called 4-finger picking throughout this song, which means my thumb's on the G, my index is on the C, middle here on the E, and ring here on the A. It's really important to have the fingers nice and perpendicular, with the thumb a little bit in front at about a 45-degree angle. But I'm going to pluck the C. Then I'm going to pluck all 4 strings together. Then I'm going to move my chord now to a C6 chord, so I take my ring finger off and play all open twice. Now you'll notice on the tab here we've got these all X's, which oftentimes means a chunk, but it means something different here. What it actually is a little bit of a mute using your fingers. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all 4 fingers and set them on the strings that they are responsible for. So the thumb on the G, the index on the C, the middle on the E, and the ring on the A. And then after that, we're going to pluck 2 on the A string with our middle finger here. We're going to do all 4 strings. And so that finishes that first measure of that part. So it looks something like this, really slow in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go into the second measure, you'll notice there are more of these X's. But this time the X's are going to mean to actually mute the string. So it means something just a little bit different when they're individual like this. We're actually going to still be holding our C major 7 chord through this second measure. And I'm going to take my middle finger, which is already there on the A string. I'm going to take my ring finger and pinky and actually set them over the 4 strings to mute them. I'm going to pluck just the G string and then just the C string with that muted sound. And that's how I start off measure 2. And then I'm going to take the pressure off of these, still holding the middle finger here on 2 of the A, and pluck the C, E, and A together. And then I'm going to pluck C, E, A, G, all within that. So measure 2 in time is something like this, nice and slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and. But to really hear what this riff sounds like, you want to hear measures 1 and 2 together. So here's measures 1 and 2, nice and slow. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now what's really cool is this repeats 4 times, so you have a lot of opportunity to practice it as you're playing this, but when you speed it up a little bit, you start to really get the groove and feel of it. So I'm going to play it the 4 times in a row now. I'm going to play it just a little bit faster so that you can really hear what it should sound like. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now that riff, I'm going to call the riff as we work throughout this arrangement because it's played many, many times. So whenever I say the riff, I'm really referring to this part right here at the beginning. But let's go ahead and move on now to measure 3, which is, going to be starting the first part of the verse. And so what we're going to play here is we're going to start with our pinky on 5 of the A, and then we're going to take that off. Then our index is going to come on 1 of the E, and then our middle finger to here on 2 of the C. And then we play the open A string twice. So measure 3, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go into measure 4, these 2 fingers here, your middle finger on 2 of the C and index on 1 of the E, you added those at the end of the last measure. If you actually just hold them there, you get this D minor chord that we need. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A strings together. Then the open A, and then the open A again, and then the 3 on the A with the ring finger, and then the 5 on the A with the pinky. So in time, measure 4, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now measure 3 and 4 in time should sound something like this, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go on to measure 5, pretty convenient here because measure 5 is almost the same as measure 3. We're going to start with the same pinky on 5, and then we're going to do the open A, index on 1 of the E, and then the middle on 2 of the C. And then instead of playing the A twice, which we did on measure 3, we're just going to play the A string once. So measure 5 in time sounds something like this, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 6, we're going to hold this same sort of chord, this D minor that we introduced earlier, middle fingers here on 2nd fret of the C string, index on 1 of the E string, pluck our C, E, and A together. We're going to add our ring finger here to 3 on the A and play that twice. And then we're going to play the open C and the open E. So that measure in time, measure 6, should be something like this, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measure 5 and 6 should sound something like this in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, When we go here to measure 7, we're going to play the riff again. So measure 7 and 8 is going to be the riff. And we repeat it. So 7 and 8 is the riff that we played there on measure 1 and 2, and it's played twice at that point. So now from here, we're going to go on to measure 9. Now at measure 9, it's actually pretty cool because measure 9 is exactly the same as measure 3. So start here with the pinky on 5 of the A, then the open on the A, 1 on the E, 2 on the C, and then play the open A twice, just like we did on measure 3. So measure 9 in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go on to measure 10 is going to keep the same D minor chord. Looks very similar to measure 4. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A together. And then the 0 on the A. And then the 3 on the A with the ring finger. And then the 5 on the A with the pinky. So in time, measure 10, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 9 and 10 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into measure 11. Measure 11 should look pretty familiar because it's the same as measure 9 and measure 3 that came before it. 5 on the A to start, open A, 1 on the E with our index, 2 on the C with our middle, and then the open A twice. Exactly the same as what we played before. In time, that should be this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now going right into measure 12, we're going to play the 2, 1, 0, that chord that's still held, that D minor from earlier. Pluck the C, E, and A strings. Then we're going to play 3 on the A twice. And then we're going to play open C, and then 3 on the E. And I like to play the 3 on the E here with my middle finger, and you'll see why in just a moment. So measure 12 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measure 11 and 12 in time should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now what's cool here is when we go on to measure 13 and 14, it is the riff once again. And it's going to repeat. Just like we did before. Now at this point, we've completed melody A and we're going to go on to melody B. So that you can hear it though, I'm going to play the entirety of melody A with the repeats on the intro and everything else so that you can hear it. It should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now we're going to go on to melody B. To start here, we're going to play a new chord. This is called an F/C. All that we need to do is take our index finger, place it on the first fret of the E string, and that's it. That's all we're going to do. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A to start. And then we're going to play the open G, and then the open C, and then the A string 3 times. So in time, measure 15 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to measure 16, we're going to continue holding that index finger here, and to make it an F5 chord, we're just going to add our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to pluck those 3 strings, the C, E, and A together, play the 3 on the A again. We're going to stretch our pinky up to 5 on the A, and then we're going to move our pinky all the way up to 7 on the A. And it's okay to remove the other fingers when you do that, because otherwise it's a big stretch. So measure 16 in time should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... "15 and 16 should sound something like this together. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 17 here. 17 should look pretty familiar because it's almost the same as 15, just a little bit different. You're going to start with that same F chord, the index finger here on the first fret of the E string, and that's it. Play your C, E, and A. And then play G, C, A, and then A a second time instead of the 3 times that played on 15. So 17 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 18, we're going to add our ring finger here on 3 of the A, pluck the C, E, and A together, then 5 on the A with the pinky, then 3 on the A with the ring finger again, then open on the C, and then 3 on the E with our middle finger. So measure 18 in time should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And 17 and 18 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now as we go into 19 and 20, it's the riff again. And it repeats. Told you this riff will be played a lot throughout the song. It's this nice little interlude that's played between sections. So now from here, what we want to do is we want to go on to measure 21. And to play 21, you'll notice that it's very, very similar to what we just played on the earlier measure with this new F chord. So 21 and 15 are very similar, just the quantity of some of the notes is a little different. So we'll start with that same chord, index here on 1 of the E string, play our C, E, and A together, G, C, and then A open 4 times. So we've done it 3 times, we've done it 2 times, now we're going to do it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then measure 22, we're going to add the 3 on the A string so that we have that little F5 chord we played earlier. So the index is still there on the 1 on the E. Pluck our C, E, and A together, and then 3 on the A a second time, and then add 5 on the A with the pinky, and then slide up to 7 on the A. So 20 in time should sound something like this, or excuse me, 22 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And 21 and 22 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going right into 23 looks very familiar to other measures that we played because 23 is exactly the same as measure 17. You'll notice there's a lot of repetition in this tune. Index finger is going to be here on the first fret of the E string. Pluck our C, E, and A together. Then G, C, and then the A string open twice. So 23 in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then as we go into 24 now, we're going to go back to that F5 chord that we've played a few times at this point now in the melody B. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A. Pinky will go up to 5 on the A, and then back to the 3 on the A, and then open on the C string, and then the 3 on the E string with our middle finger, just like we played it earlier. That's going to be exactly the same as measure 18, you'll notice. So 24 in time, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 23 and 24 in time should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And from here, we go into measure 25, and 26 are going to be the riff yet again. Repeated. As that riff is throughout the song, right? So it's really important you get that riff down as you're working through this because it's played so many times. But as we go through 25 and 26 there, we now go on to 27, and that's going to be melody C. So that we can hear it. Here's all of melody B in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now from here, we're going to go on to melody C. Melody C is going to introduce a new chord. We're going to play a G7 sus4 to start this. I will be playing our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string, and our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to pluck all 4 strings. Then we're going to play the G, C, and then we're going to play the A string open, so taking our ring finger off 3 times. So measure 27 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now as we go into measure 28, we're going to go back to that G7 sus4, so add our ring finger back on, pluck all 4 strings, play the 3 on the A again, then 5 on the A with the pinky, and then we're going to go all the way up to 7 on the A with the pinky. So 28 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 27 and 28 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go on to 29, we've got another new chord. This is going to be a G7. It's actually my favorite G7 on the ukulele. Take your index finger, place it here on the 5th fret of the C string. Take your ring finger, play on the 7th fret of the E string, and then take your middle finger and place it on the 5th fret of the A string. We're going to pluck all 4 strings together, and then G, C, E, A, and then G 3 times. So 29 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. As we go on to 30 here, it's a little bit more interesting because we're going to be playing what's called a G13 chord. And to do this, we're going to take our ring finger and we're going to pivot so that we bar across the E and the A strings with it. So our index finger stays where it is, but what we kind of do is our fingers right now are sort of pointed towards our right shoulder. And when we move to this chord, we're going to move them more straight up and down. So you see the angle of the fingers changes from an angle this way to more of an angle this way, straight up and down. We're going to pluck all 4 strings, 0, 5, 7, 7. And then we can take off our ring finger to play the 5 on the A, leaving our index now barred across. So we have 5 on the A. Pinky will go on 8 of the E string, and then 7 on the E with our ring finger. And so that looks something like this. "30 in time should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, 29 and 30 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into 31 now, we're going to play what's called a G7 sus2. It's actually pretty easy. All that you're going to do is play a G7, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string, and normally our ring finger comes to 2 on the A, but this time we're just going to leave it open. Open A string. So we just have these 2 fingers engaged. And then we're going to play the open G, 2 on the C, 1 on the E, and then the open A 3 times. So in time 31 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into 32, we're going to play that G7 sus4 again. So we leave these fingers where they are, add the ring finger here on 3 of the A, pluck all 4 strings. 3 on the A again. 5 on the A, stretching the pinky up. Then the open G. So 32, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 31 and 32 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going on to 33, our first and only real strum in this whole arrangement. You'll notice we're going to play a G7 chord, 0, 2, 1, 2, middle on the 2nd fret of the C, index here on the 1st of the E, ring here on the 2nd of the A, and we're going to strum up because our melody note is this high G. So by doing the up strum, we get that melody note. Then we're going to play 2 on the A, 1 on the E, then open on the G. 33, pretty straightforward. Sounds like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right into 34. 34 is sort of the last little moment of the melody. It's going to go all the way back up to that 0, 5, 7, 7, that G13 we played earlier, which is that ring finger barred across 7 on the E and the A, and the index across the 5 of the C, E, and A. Play the 5 on the A by taking the ring finger off. 8 on the E with our pinky, 7 on the E with our ring, and then 8 on the E with our pinky again. You'll notice there's a little fermata here on the tab. That's because this is on this harvest moon. This 8 is that last melody note. So you can hold it a little bit longer than the 8th note value that it's shown for. So 34 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now 33 and 34 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now what's really cool here is the next measure, measure 35 and measure 36 here, are going to be the riff again. So we're going to do the riff and it repeats just like it always does. Now what's cool is you repeat this, and what I like to do is sort of repeat it and fade out. So even though it's only written to repeat it twice, you could play it more. But as we go into measure 37, you'll notice measure 37 is the same thing as the riff. It starts with the same, and then measure 38 is the same as the riff, only it abbreviates it. It does the 2 muted notes, and then plays a 002, and just lets it ring for the remainder of the bar because it's the end of the song. So measure 35 and 36 is the riff, and then 37 and 38 is the riff, just ending a little bit early. So I'm going to play this now, measure 35, 36, and I'm going to repeat it, and then I'm going to go measure 37 and 38 to the end. That should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Repeat. (37), (38), and you can hear how that ends the song. And there you have it. So let's go ahead and hear all of melody C now together. In time, it should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... And there is Harvest Moon. This is a really fun tune to play, and it's fun to repeat in different ways. I really love the riff. It's quite difficult to get those mutes comfortable, so when you're first working on this, spend a lot of time with that riff. It almost has like a bossa nova feel in the way that we're doing it, but I just think it came out really nice. Now, the original recording of Harvest Moon is in the key of D major, so you can actually tune your ukulele up a whole step, and you could play along with the original if you wanted to. We're playing it here in the key of C major. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below or on the Rock Class 101 forums and website, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time for the next tutorial here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
Hi guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this tune. This is definitely my favorite Neil Young song. I've always loved it from the first time I heard it, and I think Matt did a great job writing a fun-to-play arrangement. So I do want to give you a friendly reminder, if you want to get the tabs to just print Keep for Your Records, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Harvest Moon. Don't forget that interactive tab player is also on the page, so you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.